Tomb Raider developers aren't trying to appeal to either side of the culture war surrounding Lara's design. That is a very interesting thing to say, isn't it? And it's a very interesting thing to feel the need to say as well. Now, this comes from a GameStop interview, and it's a bit of an older piece of news, but that I still think is very much so relevant because this is a topic we've covered quite recently, isn't it? In a video where I argue that hot female characters appear to be making a bit of a return, and crucially, not just from randos on the internet or merely the demand for hot female characters, but on a larger, grander scale. With Glitch Productions, of course, again being a very progressive company, choosing to put attractive females, and a cat girl at that, in one of their productions, which then swiftly outpaced their significantly more progressive entertainment. In that video, I even showed you that Activision Blizzard, of all companies, are now beginning to lean in the direction of hot female characters again. And now we've got Tomb Raider sort of kind of joining in. So the Tomb Raider game is Legacy of Atlantis, which is one of, I think, 2 different Tomb Raiders remasters coming out in the next couple of years, which is interesting in and of itself, as we're not that far removed from another full-scale remaster of Lara Croft with the Survivors trilogy as well, which we'll get to in a bit. But clearly then, the developers are very much so aware of the cultural conflict currently ongoing, and that one side is actively attempting to make attractive female characters a thing of the past, whereas the other, of course, wants as much as it can get. And this is the interesting part. So if they were truly to simply just step aside and not take a side in the cultural conflict, then, well, by default, we would win, as that is largely what we've been wanting this entire time, for developers to shut up, keep their politics out of entertainment, and just dance monkey dance, simple as. And that is partially what they're doing, but not quite. So, the new Lara Croft is not bad. She's at least beautiful in the face, most certainly so. They didn't make her actively ugly, like many other games are cursed with these days, but it isn't quite the full Lara Croft experience, is it? As she is somewhat lacking in the tittage section here. This is a perfectly adequate bust for a realistic woman, perhaps, shall we say, although even then, I see bigger every time I log on Twitter, frankly. And why would they choose to make the tittage of a woman who is literally famed for the size of her bust flatter? And I will say as well, it's still at least a little bit of an upgrade compared to, for example, the Survivor series, where they all but amputated the poor things. But this is a part of another video we had recently about the 007 game, the negotiation period, as right now we've entered into a period where developers are going to try and feel out just what they can get away with without getting a backlash. Can they introduce just a couple small progressive elements here and there, maybe nothing even overt, to try actively, and this is the thing, it is a deliberate attempt to see what they can get away with, as, again, the Tomb Raider devs are evidently self-declaredly aware of the culture war. They know what's going on. They must know then again that to take Lara Croft and downsize her might be seen as a move towards the progressive side, but with the rest of her appearing quite attractive, and the fact that the rest of the game let's just say that it certainly does appear to be focusing in on some assets quite a bit. I do believe yet again that this is them trying to figure out what exactly they get away with, and I'm not necessarily 100% against this either. Whilst there is absolutely a cynical aspect of this, no doubt about it, and even a progressive one as well, as the only reason they'd bother doing this at all is because they want to try and add in just a little bit, but honestly, so long as those elements are rewarded, and they will almost certainly be, well, natural selection will take care of the rest. As the previous entries, of course, Tomb Raider Survivor, it didn't do particularly well. And people even back then, and this was before the cultural conflict really started heating up, this wasn't really Lara Croft. And in her latest movie adaptation, somehow they made her even flatter, which is rather remarkable. And bear in mind as well, this is not all just in the past, as we also have a new Lara Croft, I believe, TV series starring Sophie Turner in the works. And don't get me wrong, I mean, she's not bad looking or anything, but she's no Lara Croft, neither in the appearance nor in the tittage department, and rather helpfully as well, you know, Amazon has already informed us that they are not worried about making her attractive. That's not what they're going for. They are not going to make hot Lara Croft. Okay, well, you now know everything you need to know. And in the ecosystem where we're going to have this, contra the, at least apparently, more faithful adaptation, at least to a degree, what we're likely to see is this version doing better than the TV version, or alternatively, both simply flopping, as that is also very much so possible in this day and age. And from this, the corporate overlords, which everyone seems to dread so much, will inevitably, as they are currently now right now also, like, see, here's the thing. It isn't just the studios in the negotiation state. This is also the corporations seeing what part of creative control they can hand over to their developers themselves. As I remind you, a lot of the reason why this happened was precisely because the corporate overlords decided to step back out of the creative process, as everybody yelled at them to do just that. Oh, just let the creatives do whatever they want. Well, that is exactly what resulted in Survivor, and the last 10 years of uglified female characters, as the overwhelming majority of aforementioned creators were also very, very progressive. And so, if this becomes a large success, the corporations will take notice, particularly in a period now as well that we are getting multiple remasters releasing in roughly the same time. We are going to see corporations attempting to feel out the audience in the same way that the creatives are going to try and feel out the audience. It will now be a competition, in essence, between, well, hot and not. And frankly, I don't really worry about that competition. I don't worry about needing them to make the right choices for the audience to reward the correct thing. This will happen on its own, automatically. We don't need to do anything. We literally don't have to raise a finger to make the objectively more attractive option succeed. The only question is whether or not they'll actually go far enough to activate that particular part of the lizard brain. That's the question, as the current design, again, it's definitely a part of the negotiation, even as the rest of the game, camera angles and all, are certainly trying to be more directly appealing. The negotiation is going to go on for quite some time, as I do believe this period of game development we're probably looking at 4 or 5 years at least, where eventually the message will land home. As we've now gone through 10 years of shouting, 10 years of sending the message out there, we don't want the ugly female characters, we'd rather have the attractive ones, and now we're in the period of allowing that message to sink into corporations of God only knows how many thousands of employees, and an unfortunate percentage of whom will be rabid activists to boot. Even as, I will also point out, back in the day, when this originally happened, outlets like GameSpots would pump out leading questions like, oh, you know, this is a very problematic franchise you've got here. How are you making sure that you are putting in the correct female empowerment message? How are you making sure that you're not being an enormous misogynist here? And the developers would obviously get very, very defensive. Oh no, this is, of course this is about, it's a very feminist message. Lara Croft is a feminist icon, don't you know? So the very fact that they answer with, we're not going to appeal to either side, which, and again here, I point this out, to the progressive, that sounds as if they're siding with the right wing. And this will be another element of the negotiation, as the companies are going to learn quite swiftly as well that there is no half measures here with the progressive sphere. They are not going to take half progressivism. They never have, they never will. And indeed, even when they do get everything they want, they still reject it because it is always something further to be progressed towards. It is the definition of their goddamn ideology, for fuck's sake. So they'll be cancelled by them regardless. The only question is whether or not they'll be able to appeal enough to the right to get through. The recent He-Man movie also was probably an excellent example of this, which I should have mentioned, as that too was a movie very much so leaning towards the masculine power trip fantasy. Oh, not so much the fantasy, but at least the lesson of masculinity, but was constantly pulling away from it, as if it was like, oh god, are we being a little bit too masculine here? Shouldn't we back it down? Oh, I know, we'll have Teela crack a joke at He-Man again, right, more correctly. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm pretty fucking sure I'm right on this, and I'm pretty damn sure that my negotiation video is going to age like fine wine, and you'll all be thanking me for it in the future. Until then, chat, thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.